back in contact with people to a degree, you make the mistake and think that you're going to come back in contact with the same people. However, time determines something else. And you come to realize that even though you know certain people, you really don't know them anymore because of time and the human development and everything. So as time goes on, you come to realize that in coming back in contact with a whole lot of people, and due to the fact that the world is going into a dark place and everyone's concerned of the world not going into a dark place. However, their viewpoints and everything are assisting the earth going into a dark place because of the effects of religion and primarily, especially this day, the effects of politics and how politics is causing so much hatred and divisiveness in the world to where it's affecting everyone who are involved in those particular areas of living, religion, and politics. And so when you are a living human being decides not to be a conformant of either one of those, you find yourself outside of those realms. However, due to the fact that you are living in the same society and in the same function of the human experience, of course you're going to derive some different point of views and insights on a whole lot of things that are going to clash with the religious world and the political world. And those who are involved in those two sections of the world, you're going to find yourself clashing with those people. And so as time goes on, what you're starting to realize is that due to the fact that the world is going into these dark places based upon those two sections of the human reality, which is, as was mentioned, politics and religion, you're going to find yourself losing people who you knew in the past. And it's unavoidable because a whole lot of these people are so caught up in the hatred and the effects of the hatred that you have no choice but to back away from them and just leave them be, because you don't want to get caught up. You don't want to get caught up in the effects of it because you don't belong to neither one of those realms anymore. But it is one thing that you do see is the world going into a very dark place. But all at the same time, you also understand that the world has to go into that dark place in order for things to get better, because the common human being doesn't understand what is better until the world is in it. The situation is urgent. Now, due to the fact that we understand that it has to go in this direction in order for things to get better, having that understanding strengthens our endurance in order to suffer through it. Now, there's a whole lot of people that are involved in taking the world into a dark place. They don't have this understanding, and therefore they don't have this acknowledgement that they're going to have to go through a strong endurance period in order to survive. And the reason why they don't have this gift is that these people are prime participants in taking the world into a dark place. and yet still they've been manipulated to think that what they think, what they believe, and their point of views and all of these things are a necessity to take the world into a place where things are going to get better. However, due to the fact that a whole lot of these perceptions are rooted in the political system and justified by the religious world, they're being manipulated to think that what they're doing is correct. However, the only time that they are going to understand exactly what's going on, they are going to have to be forced into a place that they helped create, which is this dark time that the human family is getting ready to suffer. Only then are they going to be made to realize how the world has been taken into this dark condition that is slowly manifested through all of the chaos. They are going to have to come to understand that they are the cause of it. Okay, just came out of meditation. I again met up with the same people that I met up with last night when we were all sitting and we were all talking about the world going into a dark place. This video is not going to be long because I'm going to turn in early tonight. But what you will find when you talk about subjects like that, these new wave thinking people, it's so easy for them to perceive something that is negative. That's negative. The world's going into darkness. That's negative speech. No, that's reality. Okay? You've got positive, you've got negative, and you have reality. Now, once you deal with reality, the positive and the negative, it's futile. This is what I was telling the woman tonight. And it's always the women that are always talking this positive energy and all of that nonsense. And as long as this new wave doctrine is floating around, you're never going to get anything done with people like that. So I said my goodbyes tonight because I don't have time for that, you know. And as I was walking to my car, you know, a brother who Brother Walter had introduced me to had told me, he said, man, you know, I understand how you feel, but you know how these women are, you know. And I just told him, I said, you know what, that's why I would rather not work with women, because women don't do nothing but disrupt things, because they're emotional creatures and they're not logical creatures, and therefore they don't see things as they are. They try to see things as they wish it would be, but it is not so. And unless you deal with what is so, you're not going to be able to know how to resolve things. You're never going to understand what needs to be done unless you see things realistically. Trying to think positive and look at things positive, that implies a person who is trying to control things, even a person that's trying to manifest things upon their own, and yet still they say that they have faith in God. And what I mean by that, you know, these women, they are, a lot of them are in this manifestation thing, you know. We just keep thinking positive and keep thinking positive and positive, then positive is going to manifest. No, if you think realistically, then what you think is positive is going to manifest, which I call the resolve. I don't go into anything thinking positive or negative, because as long as you're taking something into something that is brand new, you're not seeing the problem for what it is. And the resolve is going to come from the problem. You can't bring the resolve to the problem, especially if the problem is new. You know, this is why Yeshua said, go and observe all things. When you're observing things, like say if you're standing there and you're observing this creature, you might as well say, or thing, whatever the case may be. We're talking about observation. If you're observing something, the moment you start comparing, well, you know what, this reminds me of this reminds me of that. As long as you're comparing something that you're observing that is new, you're never going to find out what it is, because you're in this comparison thing, and you're seeing something brand new through the screen of comparison, which is knowledge of the past. You have to get rid of all of that. The only way that you're going to be able to recognize what something actually is, you have to observe it. You can't take anything with you. You can't try to figure it out or anything like that, or try to compare it in anything. You have to understand that it's going to reveal itself to you and tell you what it is. Life is sacred. So stop going into life with these thoughts in your head. I'm going to think positive. I'm going to think positive. Life is going to be what it is. I don't care how positive your thinking process is. Your thinking process is not going to govern anything, and it's damn sure not going to change anything. So I told him, as long as you have anybody that is new wave in your vicinity, I'm not going to have anything to do with this. I really don't even want to come by and have any conversation with you. You know, because these positive and negative and lower vibrations and high vibrations, no. That's just a whole bunch of nonsense talk, you know, and this new wave community trying to sound all deep and highly intellectual, when there's really no intellect, no place in the new wave doctrine. There is no intellect. There's no realism there. You're not going to resolve the problems of the world going into the world thinking a certain way. You have to go into what is new, and you have to allow the Creator to guide your wisdom and your intelligence into a state of clarity, so that you will know exactly what to do to resolve the problem, because the resolve is right there with the problem. You have to observe the problem and allow the problem to reveal its own resolve. It's going to reveal itself. So the whole thing is, as long as these type of people are in your vicinity with these unrealistic ways of thinking, and if you are the type of person, or if you are a group of people who are serious about making a change and a realistic change in the world, you have to be wary of people with this thought process, with this new wave thought process, because those people are not going anywhere. This new wave thought process is going to eventually die out, because actually it's not new at all. This whole new wave doctrine and method of thinking started way back into the mid-50s. And it died out in the, you might as well say, like in 1967, around that time. And it just so not too long ago picked up. And you would think that with all of these so-called positive thinking people who are on the planet claiming that they are the majority, then why is the world consistently going into darkness if the world is more morally populated by people who carry this mentality? With all of this going on with the human family, with this state of mind, you tell me why the world is consistently going into darkness. Why don't you think positive and stop the world from going into darkness? Why don't you just be responsible and do what it takes in order to make the world a better place? You're no different than a Christian. I'm just going to think positive. You're no different than a Christian. Oh, I'm just going to pray for them. I'm just going to pray for them. I'm just going to have faith. I'm just going to pray for these people. Both of you communities do absolutely nothing. You have nothing to work with, just a whole bunch of fancy words. That's all you are.